Some cities try to bury their history. Others, they just bulldoze it. But then you have these rare few, like Tirana, Albania, that take even the most painful parts of their past and weave them right into the soul of the city. Today, we're going to look at how Tirana's landmarks tell this absolutely remarkable story of transformation. For decades, Albania was basically sealed off from the entire world, a nation just shrouded in secrecy. But what happened after communism fell? Well, that's this incredible story of resilience and reinvention, and it's a story you can actually read in the stones and the buildings of its capital. So where do we start? We have to go right to Tirana's historical heart. If you really want to get the city's journey, you have to start with this one single building that represents not just its origins, but its incredible ability to just endure. Right in the middle of the super busy Skanderbeg Square, you'll find the Ethem Bey Mosque. And it's way more than just beautiful Ottoman architecture. This building is a silent witness. It has seen the city's birth, its absolute darkest days, and, believe it or not, its rebirth. So building this mosque wasn't some quick job. It was a generational project, a father and son effort that took over 3 decades and really became the anchor of the city. But what made it really special were its frescoes. You see, unlike a lot of Islamic art at the time, these depicted lush landscapes, waterfalls, bridges, all this nature. It was this distinctly Albanian expression of faith from the very beginning. And then, in 1967, everything changed. Enver Hoxha's regime did something unheard of. It declared Albania the world's first atheist state. Religion was completely outlawed. Mosques, churches, they were demolished all across the country. The Ethem Bey Mosque actually survived, but only because it was labeled a cultural monument. It was silent, its doors locked, for decades. But then, as the communist regime started to crumble in 1991, 10,000 people gathered. 10,000! They just pushed open the doors of the locked mosque and prayed, defying the state without a single act of violence. It was such a powerful, symbolic moment. They weren't just reclaiming a building, they were reclaiming freedom itself. And that single act of defiance? It was a direct challenge to this world of concrete, control, and secrecy that the regime had so carefully built around them. So this timeline here really shows you what we're talking about, a nearly 50-year period of intense paranoia and isolation. The state's ideology was literally projected onto the city's architecture. It was an era of total surveillance and control. Now, at the very center of this controlled world was a neighborhood called Bloku, which literally just means the block. And for the average citizen of Tirana, this area might as well have been on another planet. It was where the dictator, Enver Hoxha, and his inner circle lived in total privilege, completely cut off from the very people they ruled. Just listen to this. Ordinary citizens could not enter its streets, which were guarded and meticulously maintained. So it wasn't just exclusive, it was a physical barrier, a symbol of this deep, deep divide between the party elite and, well, everyone else. You had these pristine streets right next to the rest of the struggling city. And right outside this forbidden zone, the regime built its ultimate monument to itself. It opened in 1988, the Pyramid of Tirana. It was this bizarre, imposing museum designed for one purpose, to glorify the dictator Enver Hoxha and cement his legacy in stone and concrete forever. But that legacy crumbled just a few years later. And after 1991, Tirana had a choice. Do we tear down these painful symbols, or do we do something much more radical and transform them? And what happened to Bialoku is just extraordinary. The forbidden zone was completely thrown open. And today, it is the absolute beating heart of Tirana's social life. Those guarded villas of the communist elite are now trendy cafes and boutique shops. The ultimate symbol of exclusion became the city's most inclusive and vibrant neighborhood. It's amazing. So, what about the pyramid, Hoxha's concrete memorial? Well, for years, it just sat there, rotting, a decaying relic of a hated regime. But instead of tearing it down, the city chose this incredible transformation, turning a monument to a dictator into a launchpad for the future. Today, the pyramid is home to the Tumo Center, a free educational hub where young Albanians learn coding, robotics, and design. Just think about that for a second. A building once dedicated to enforcing a rigid, backward-looking ideology now fosters creativity and innovation. It's just a breathtaking act of architectural poetry. So when you walk through Tirana today, you are literally walking through a city where every single layer of its history is visible, and they're all interacting with each other in these really fascinating ways. It really all boils down to this single story, told in 3 acts. You have the mosque, which now stands for faith's resilience. You have the secret district that became a symbol of openness. And you have an ideological monument that now represents a bright, innovative future. This is the absolute genius of modern Tirana. The city had the courage not just to face its history, but to repurpose it. It took these physical reminders of oppression and secrecy and turned them into vibrant symbols of freedom, creativity, and community. So what does all this teach us? Well, Tirana's story shows that the soul of a city isn't just in its shiny new buildings, but in how it grapples with its old ones. It proves that architecture can be a storybook, where even the absolute darkest chapters can be rewritten to have a hopeful, powerful ending. And this leaves us with one last thought. Tirana offers this really powerful lesson in reconciliation. It kind of forces us to ask, not just about cities, but about ourselves. How do we take the most difficult parts of our own pasts and transform them into sources of future strength?